All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We've just finished the great Indoctrination, and it was incredible. We're going to talk about how great it was as we go on, but Miles, amazing job. There's a lot to unpack. I'm Kennedy Hall, joined by my confreres here. We've got Mr. Timothy Flanders, Miles Vasilius, who is the brains behind the operation, who made this great documentary, Murray Rundis, contributor at Pelican Plus, the Pelican Brief, Ali Ghaffari, who is in the documentary and is it founder, co-founder, chief of Divine Mercy Academy, a wonderful classical education institution in the United States of America in the state of Maryland, and Angela Erickson, one of our contributors as well at Pelican. So, if you are joining us and haven't seen the documentary, you're going to want to see it, and you can see it on Pelican Plus. If you're not a member of Pelican Plus, you can go to pelicanplus.com and the information is there how to sign up. I believe the information should be underneath for those of you who would like to sign up. And if you use the code SCHOOL, you get 5% off. And if you are a member of Pelican Plus, go watch it over there. It is for premium members. So there you go. We're going to try to avoid major spoilers, but we need to talk about what we just witnessed. So because this is new to some of the people here, because Miles and Ali obviously know this documentary really well. I want to get the take from Tim and Angela about what hit them the hardest. So, Angela, what hit you the hardest in the film?
Oh my goodness. I think the stark contrast between public Catholic schools, which seems like an oxymoron as an American, although I do think we're trending that direction with this, with some of the ideas about school choice and what that might look like in the future. That being said, just seeing the contrast of Miles' experience at a public Catholic school versus what wonderful men like Ali are doing to create and cultivate a true Catholic education that addresses the whole person. It was just really beautiful to see. So I homeschool, and there are a lot of reasons for that. And namely, it would be because a lot of public education fails in that regard with teaching the whole person.
Tim, what about you? What hit you the hardest in the film?
What is coming to me right now is the scene with the music
That
where
was mine. Yeah, me
yeah,
too.
they're talking about the music, and he's just playing these different chords and illustrating the sonic reality of the music, but also which is also a symbolic reality of metaphysical truths. And he's just saying like this is self-evident for the children. And you don't have to like make a syllogism. You just hear it. And I thought that was very powerful to me. And then he went on to talk about certain forms of ugly music that people have tried to destroy this logos of music. So I just think about the kids, the kids getting this truth, goodness, and beauty in these good schools, and these, our other kids who are they're metaphysically abused by all these errors, and it's just sad.
Now, Miles and Ali, I know you guys have lived this, and you had tons of time in the background, so you've seen it, and you've seen the edits and all those things 100 different times. But I imagine seeing it again with fresh eyes. Is there something? Maybe I'll go to you first, Ali. Is there something where you look back at this documentary, and even though you know it, when you see it again, you just go, "Wow, that still resonates."
Yeah, actually, I love the scene that you were just talking about, Timothy, with Patrick Sullivan, our headmaster at Divine Mercy Academy, who just comes in, just beautifully expresses that. But also going back and just seeing the difference between the two. And then I really love the interview where we're talking about and comparing it to communist China, where some people may hear that and may think this is ridiculous, this is a conspiracy theory, but here we have a person who was raised in communist China, and it's coming here and said it's actually worse here than it was there when I was growing up. And this education, this is where it's going, and we have to wake up and we have to change what we're doing now.
Miles, what's something that still gives you chills?
Gives me chills. That's a big word.
Paolo De Bono, but we won't say much about
Yeah.
that.
You know what? No, that's
I
that's
know he's
that's
a
what I
nice
was
guy,
going to
but yeah,
say.
yeah.
He like it's crazy what that. I mean, he's no longer a teacher. I mean, I actually have a relationship, a friendship, I would say, even with the guy. Like he's not. He's just very misinformed. I would say very educated. But like just the fact that he was allowed to display a transgender icon of Jesus without any discipline from, you know, the hierarchy in the public school system, the bishops, the principal, anybody who's in charge of them. It's just, to me, that's just unbelievable. And I think likely the viewers will think the same.
Yeah. For me, I am gonna. We won't give too many spoilers, but she's an amazing woman who is a survivor of Chinese communism and then becomes this. I guess you'd call her like a theorist or an expert, a scholar in education in America, and I've been trying to tell people for years, like in my family, that all this stuff we see, all these things going on, I'm like, that is what communism. And they'll say, what are you talking about? We still get to go and work and we get to vote. Like, it's not communism. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's like the accoutrement of communism. The most important thing is to reform the human person to think like a socialist and be an atheist and all these kinds of things. So when you break it down in this film, and she breaks it down, showing what that's like, I think that's, I mean, if you're not going to believe her, who are you going to believe? You know, she's literally from there and is an expert in education and sees that. So, so many powerful moments. Murray, what about you? What's one thing that sticks out to you?
Yeah, the thing that really stood out to me was that very interesting segment on the liberal arts education developing in Africa. And what the priest said, who's really leading this development, he said something I think is really important for us, which is that they look to the liberal arts education in the West for an example on how to develop it in Africa and in the developing world. And that's important because I think there's this concept today in Catholicism of sort of, well, the West is too far gone. Europe, America, Canada, you know, forget about it. It's a lost cause. Now we're going to look to the developing world. We're going to look to Africa. We're going to look to Asia. That's the future of Catholicism. But the important point is that where is the institutions? Where does the center of educational development still lie? It lies in America, in Canada, in the West. And I think this should be an example for everybody that we cannot just give up our institutions in the West. That goes for Catholic institutions and the mainstream institutions that are educational here in the West, because they look to us. The developing world looks to us for how to develop in their own countries. And that stood out to me because this is really important work, liberal arts education nowadays, that really should be planting seeds across the world to develop the entire human person in every single human person around the world.
Yeah, you're exactly correct. You know, one of the things I don't know, as political views are difficult to express. I mean, it's like Tim, one time you and I were talking about something else and you just said to me, it's complicated. And I'm like, what's that? You're like, you remember Facebook in a relationship? Like, you don't know what it is. You say it's complicated. My political views, it's just like, it's complicated. I don't know what to, some days I don't know what I think. And as time goes on, as I age, as my beard gets whiter, as we have more children, as we school them and stuff, I have a less of a tear it down approach or feeling in my bones, I guess, and more of a, it's a shame these institutions aren't doing what they're supposed to do because they have the potential to be so good, and I would like to somehow reform them. And I think that's one thing, and I want to transition to our next question here, because seeing the academy that Ali, you guys have created, and also just seeing that there are still educators who are in, you know, quote unquote legitimate institutions, and it's important to have legitimate institutions. We should be able to trust our authorities. That's natural and normal. It's a shame that we often can't, but if we can, that's obviously optimal. So it's good to see these people, because seeing the growth of classical education is very inspiring to me. You know, homeschooling is great. There's a lot, and education, it's kind of like, it's cultural, it's custom, it just should almost fit like a tailored suit. You know, it's not the same for every people. I get that. There's going to be differences in how you apply it in different places, family structures. I get that. But, you know, homeschooling is what we do, and it's great, but it's a lot of work. It's very hard. It's rewarding, but we do it, let's be honest, initially, even though we come to love it, we do it because we have to. Initially. You come to love it, but you do it because you have to. And it's a burden on a lot of families who make it work, but There's financial struggles. There's professional things. There's just mom's having babies, and that's a lot on her plate. And dad has to leave for 12 hours and whatever, like these things. So I want to see more of these schools. I want to see classical schools continue to grow. And I'm just so inspired to see that. And Ali, maybe you could speak to your school is thriving, but what are you seeing across, the United States in your contacts internationally?
Yeah, it's really encouraging, actually. What we're seeing, there are people who are wanting to start their own school all over the country. People have been reaching out to us at Divine Mercy Academy, at St. John Henry Newman Institute, and they say, "How do I get started? What do I need to do? I want to do this." They've been moved to do something. There are others who are in schools already existing, if it's an independent school or if it's a parochial school. They say, I think that's where we want to go, but we don't know where to start. Where can we go? And then when we went overseas to Uganda, also to Italy, and then in Ireland, there are little pockets of people there who see this and say, we want this here. And there's a lot of, in Africa, there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement because the soil is still very fertile there. And they're about 20 or 30 years behind us. To say Africa's the future, but they're actually on the same trajectory we are, just behind us, about a decade or two. But they have the advantage of being really fertile and still very, very much on fire for God. In the other places in Europe, however, the faith is almost entirely suffocated to death by socialism and communism. And so we are really starting over in those places in Europe. And so, but there are these pockets of hope. I like to say that Aslan is coming and that the snow is melting, right? And you can start to see the blades of grass, and it's exciting. It's happening all over.
Well, and I'll ask you a question in a second here, but I love how you just mentioned this reference, obviously, to Narnia. C.S. Lewis, obviously known for Narnia. He's known for Mere Christianity. These are his big things. Tim and I are huge Space Trilogy fans. We could nerd out on that for like 3 hours. But he wrote wonderfully on education in The Weight of Glory, The Abolition of Man. And he saw this coming, 70, 80 years ago. Chesterton wrote about it in other ways. Chesterton's my intellectual hero. And what's at the heart of all this is that they've forgotten about, like Lewis says, men without chests. They've forgotten that in each student there is a heart. And it's not just the beating heart, it's the center of the soul that all the ancients always understood. And you have to form them from within, and you can't just make them cogs in a machine. And it's really important to keep that in mind. And Miles, if you could boil it down to one thing, maybe two things. You had this long journey making this film, many personal life heartaches, financial, all the things that go along with making a film. But I think you would say that seeing it fully done and finally out there is worth it. What do you hope the legacy will be of this? And do you plan to do more stuff on education in the future? What are you thinking about that?
Yes, well, I do hope that the legacy is that we can make a difference in education. We can change our schools. It doesn't need to be this way. It's going to be a lot of work. And I hope that I can be involved in that for the years to come. I'm dedicated to trying to bring that change. I hope as well that it reaches young people. I mean, if you're a student watching this, don't be afraid. You have nothing to lose to challenge your teachers, challenge the curriculum. Just don't be afraid. You can discover the truth for yourself. That's a fact. And if a young person is watching this, you can discover the truth. It's possible. And I just hope that in the future, people look back and if they watch it again or whatever, they can see that there is hope and that and the good news is, as Elise said, the change is happening. I think they're saying that Gen Z is one of the most religious generations that they've seen in a long time. Like there's a beautiful renewal happening in schools with what Ali's doing and others, but also just I think people are slowly waking up and realizing the truth of things. And so, I hope that answers thoroughly,
That's great.
essence.
And that's what leads me to my next question, Ali. Parents just watch this, whether they watch live with us or they're watching this on replay or something, but they've just watched this film. It's overwhelming. This guy started this school. It's amazing, but oh my goodness, like I got, 5 kids under 5 years old, and my husband, like, there's too much going on. What do I do? What's step one? What's just, if you could say, like, you just want to start your kids on that trajectory, not even opening a school, but just step one in the home. What's step one to getting that mindset for classical education?
Yeah, I think always the first step is just becoming aware of how your children are being formed. If they're in a public school, in all likelihood, they're being malformed, and you need to find a way to get them good human formation. And so for me, I'm looking immediately, are there schools in the area that offer a classical Catholic education? Maybe there might be one down the road. There may be one 45 minutes away. I would move heaven and earth to make that happen. If, however, you're in the frozen tundra somewhere up north, and there are just no schools anywhere, homeschooling is an option. And if that's just not your calling or your vocation, bring good books into your children. Find a good list of, it can come from a homeschool source or from a book list from a classical Catholic website or whatnot, and just get the good, rich literature and start having your kids read it. And if they can't read it out loud to them, and capture their hearts with truly good stories and rich content.
Murray, as someone who, I believe you were not raised Catholic, correct? You were a convert.
Yeah.
And you were in the Hollywood milieu, and you found yourself at a liberal arts college. What would be the first book you'd recommend? Not like something that I know you're talking about, like the great works of Newman or something, like for, us, reading theology nerds, but like someone's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to read one book to just sort of change my way of thinking to be like these great heroes of intellectual history. What's the book you're going to recommend?
Yeah, this one, I think this is even mentioned in the film, but reading really anything by Plato is going to just really strike you at the core. I recently commented something Dr. Fazer said, where I said, if somebody were to just read Socrates' the Apologia of Socrates that Plato wrote, which is, this great defense of Socrates, but before he is put to death, if somebody were to just read that and really engage with the text, I think they would gain like 15 IQ points. And
Yeah.
I think it's a really it's a sad thing that these classic works like Aristotle and Plato, they're seen as obscure almost, like you're a weirdo if you're reading that. But really, Plato should be this engaging thing, and young people can read Plato, that should start the intellectual journey of learning how to think, learning how to engage and say, I might disagree with this at first, and my first instinct is not, this is what we were talking on the pre-show, the difference between indoctrination and education. Our first instinct should not be, when we're feeling uncomfortable about something, destroy it, burn it. I don't want anything that I disagree with. But no, we're going to try to get to the truth. And if more people got to that point of actually engaging with the facts at hand, engaging in a rational dialogue, I think we'd end up in a much better state for our culture. But right now, we're not at that point. But I think even just a few people picking up Plato, it can make a dent in that.
Yeah, that's great. The Meno was life-changing for me. I had to read that in university. One of the good things, I had one decent course. It was the philosophy of education. The guy was an old school Platonist. He was a young guy, but he was just into it. So he made us read it, and it was great. And Angela, you're a homeschooling mom. I imagine, like my wife, she has read a lot on how to educate her children. What is a book that has inspired you to help educate your children?
Oh boy. I wish I could even tell you the title offhand. It was actually not a formative, like, here's how to classically train. It was, what is her name? Her name is Christy something, and she talks about like homeschool rising, I think is the title of it. But she actually talks about the history of how public education came to be this relativistic utilitarian thing. Like it goes more into the deep history of it, beginning in Prussia and then wanting to grow that out and replicate it so that you are getting your nice little communists who are doing whatever the government wanted them to do. And so she really lays out the history, and that was incredible for me to realize, like, wow. And then to think about, oh my goodness, people have been homeschooling their kids forever, unless, you're bringing in tutors into your home, or you are wealthy or sending your kids off to like a religious school. And so for me, that was very encouraging to realize people have been doing this forever. And so I'm not, even though I have no idea what I'm doing, I mean, it's possible. And so I would even start with just something as basic as that, like just getting a feel for why are we doing this to begin with? Because we want people to learn how to think. I would love to even talk about that, but I won't because there's so much that could be said. But I think that is really important.
No, that's really good. My wife, she read some works by Charlotte Mason, and she really loved them.
Charlotte Mason is
I
good.
actually read some of them. She's a very brilliant woman. She wasn't a Catholic, but she was in that sort of Oxfordian, Anglican kind of school. They were Catholic almost, but good enough, for the books. But Tim, obviously, we would like our education to be from the heart of the church. That's the goal. The Catholic I don't know if it's in every version of it, but the 10 books printing probably is in all of them. But the 10 books version of the Catechism of the Council of Trent has this wonderful history of how the church has always taken education seriously, going back to as early as like 1,500 years ago, as far as they have records on these things, because they're from dioceses here and there and whatever, about how the parish would have a school, and then the bishop of this whatever would say all the parishes have to educate all the people in reading, and we've always been wanting to educate despite all the Protestant myths about Catholicism. But it's a difficult time right now. It is, right? This is why we're making these independent academies and things like that, because the status quo just isn't always working, and it's unfortunate. So maybe not the role of the church as such, but kind of at the parish level, because you have a great classical option through your parish. What's a way that you can kind of rally your parish or avenues to look through in that setting for getting this going?
Yeah, I have to shout out my parish was featured at the end of the documentary, Sacred Heart Academy. We have this fantastic classical academy where it has the full-time 5 days a week classical student option, and then there's also a half-time option where you go twice a week, and then you homeschool for the rest of the week. So it's like both and, which is really great. That's what my kids do. My other kid went through the full-time program, and it's just what we talk about at Sacred Heart Academy is the essence of what is culture, where we have a full living, breathing people group where there's this cultural momentum where we're all worshiping together, and then we have all these customs and these celebrations. And then we have, further from the parish, we have these smaller groups that meet in homes where we keep the community strong, even though we're kind of geographically all over the place. So I think that this has been a huge success, just getting together in community, throwing parish celebrations for feast days very frequently is essential. Like the formation in the children of just like, let's have fun with the faith because this is just awesome. Jesus Christ is risen from the dead. Like, let's celebrate. So I've been very blessed by Sacred Heart, the parish and the academy, myself and my children. And I credit that to the vision of the founders, Father Sirico, and all the different formators of the whole cultural experience. They're very holistic Catholic in the sense of trying to make the reign of the Sacred Heart of Jesus over all things.
That's excellent. I have a question for you now, Ali, because what Tim said reminded me of something. So at our parish, tons of young families. It's a traditional parish, and it's geographically, we're actually pretty central. We're lucky that way. But the families are homeschooling, and the academy's an hour away, so it's too far for the day students and things. And so we've been looking into creating some sort of, I've heard it called micro school, but really what we're talking about is a modern day version of a schoolhouse, But it just, when you look into that, you go, there's many ways to get this going. If you could give advice to people out there, maybe they can't go through the parish right now, maybe there's reasons, but they have enough parents together. What's kind of some steps they could take to get something going?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing to do is to get a meeting together of people who are interested, and then to have them reach out through either social media, text, call their friends, and get their networks activated to get everyone together, and then to have a discussion, maybe give a presentation of what the vision is that you have in mind, and then this type of thing, and one of the concerns people have is I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm afraid because there's so much, it's overwhelming. But what happens is God provides in His providence this type of thing. This vision attracts incredibly talented and generous people who see the vision and say, that's what I want for my children as well. How can I help? And they just come out, and God just provides one person after another after another. And it's not you doing it yourself. It's God doing the work, and He's bringing these people in, and this team of people come together to create this thing. And that was true for us, and it's been replicated everywhere. So I say, just get started. Just reach out to a few people. Just get the word out and get a meeting on the calendar and say, what can we do here? What are the talents we have available? What can we make work given our particular situation?
Yeah, that's amazing. And there's for parents who are in similar situations to the one I've described, there are a variety of Catholic organizations out there with solid curriculums. The Chesterton Academy does great work, and they're kind of tailorable to different situations. Various homeschool programs can be used in group settings. Like I know some academies that will use something like Our Lady of Victory, but like in a classroom. You can make these things work. It's there for you. You just got to get it going. Now, Miles, I wanted to tell you, we've been talking a lot about education, but one of the things that we need to thank you for is the courage it took for you to make this. Because I know, like you and I we've spent time in our personal lives together. We've worked together and stuff. I know you've stayed at my house and all that. Like, I know that this was like an Everest for you. And not only did you accomplish it, but one of the things I kept going back to while I was watching the film was how strikingly beautiful it was. The actual cinematography and the sound design and everything was just extraordinary. And I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart, as a fellow Catholic and as a Canadian especially, because there was a lot of emphasis on the problems here. It was just amazing. So bravo to you. And if we could do a round of applause, doesn't really work very much on live streams because there'll be echoes and things. But thank you for that. And I guess we've only got a couple minutes left here, but is there anything you'd like to say before we leave, Miles? Because this is your baby, this is your vision. You finally brought it to life. So what would you like to tell us before we go here?
Thank you, Kenny. No, that's a real honor to hear you say. It means a lot, and I mean that sincerely. I really do. To hear all of you say that is excellent. I have to thank, the people that helped me make it. Ali helped a tremendous amount, more than expected. Our executive producer, Paul, who I know is watching this as well, he really did so much. Collectively, we all did a lot. It was an Everest. You definitely used the right analogy. It was a mountain to climb. And there were so many times while I was making this film, and Ali could testify to this as well, I was like, I don't know if we're going to finish this. Like, there was just so many different moving parts with lots of drama, lots of issues. Just, it's difficult to make a movie. And so, we all were able to do it. And I'm very thankful, so thankful to God, of course, and to the people that helped make it. So, and thank you to Pelican for being able to stream it. It's been great that you came in at providential timing. A brand new Catholic streaming platform like this started in October, I believe. Like, it's just amazing. A month later that we have a film now to call home on Pelican. So thank you, really, to everybody that helped do this.
Well, we're honored to have you on. And Murray, remind the dear viewers where they can watch this film if they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so in the description below, we got all the links there. So if you use the code SCHOOL, you get a bit of a discount, so make sure you use that. But if we've been saying this since the pre-show, we're going to try to get around big tech here. And we talked about in the movie, it's talked about the getting around the sort of big college board and getting around the big government. Well, we're trying to get around big tech. And the way we're going to do that is you can subscribe to Pelican Plus on our website. We don't want to have to use, through the App Store because the app
They take a big chunk
from it. But if you can go on the website and subscribe there, that's the way to do it. You can see the movie. You get access to our prayer app. You get access to all the great stuff we have over there on Pelican.
And then once you're plugged in, you can just log in on the app just like you do any other app on your phone. It works great.
That's right.
All right. That's all we got, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again, Miles and Ali, for such an amazing job. And I hope that we can continue working together in the future. Praise God, and may His will be done in all things. We'll see you guys another day. Bye-bye.